So whose fault would you put this to? Would you say it's Hamas, the individual members of Hamas who actually killed and slaughtered? And like you said, we don't know how, the beheadings and the rapes. They could be looked into, but the actual murders would definitely did happen. So whose fault would you put that to, Hamas or Israel? I mean, like you said, we should put this in context. And the context is the people in Gaza, whether you agree that they're occupied, whether you don't think they're occupied, whatever your opinion is, they are without hope. And a man without hope, or a person without hope, is a terrible thing, and is a terrifying thing. And a lot of people there are without hope. So that's just to give more context. But what's your thoughts on that? Whose fault would you place this to?
There are several questions intertwined there. First of all, I don't believe it's a matter of deliberation or dispute whether or not Gaza is occupied territory. That's a consensus opinion among all international humanitarian and human rights bodies. Gaza constitutes occupied territory. Secondly, as to the characterization of Gaza, already in 2004, the head of Israel's National Security Council, Giora Eiland, described Gaza as a huge concentration camp. And that was before the blockade was imposed in January 2000, before the economic blockade was imposed in January 2006. So those characterizations, it seems to me, are uncontroversial. Now, in terms of assigning responsibility and blame, acknowledging that Hamas perpetrated the acts, I don't honestly believe we'll ever know exactly what happened. There are several possibilities. One, that Hamas included as part of its commando operation a terroristic component. That's possible. They wanted to create a national and international crisis. That was basically one of the motives of Nat Turner. He wanted to create a national crisis over slavery. Now that's possible. It was a component of Hamas's commando operation. A second possibility is these young men bursting free from Gaza concentration camp looked for any and every opportunity to exact revenge for the horrors that they had to endure from the day of their birth. Most of the young men were born into the concentration camp. You guessed the average age of the militant was about 20. This occurred in 2023, and Giora Eiland was already describing Gaza as a concentration camp in 2004. So it could have been, and then we have to leave aside the, as it were, the, how would you call it, this super added fact that periodically these young men were subjected to Israel's mowings of the lawn, these high-tech massacres that Israel in 2000, the best known ones, 2008 Operation Cast Lead, 2012 Operation Pillar of Defense, 2014 Operation Protective Edge, then the mass killings of civilians during the Great March of Return, in particular children, women, medics, and people with disabilities were targeted by Israel snipers. The snipers targeted, apart from killing outright, this was just assassinations of civilians. Israel was targeting the area below the leg of the nonviolent civil protesters, many of them as far as 300 meters away from the border, but the snipers were targeting them. Won't go into all those details now. So it's possible that there was an element of exacting personal revenge given the opportunity that wasn't part of the Hamas commando operation. I don't know. And the third possibility is it seems that the people entered Gaza in waves, and by what was called the third wave, it was simply civilians from Gaza who were going through the breaks in the fence, and they could have included riffraff and ruffians. I admit This is all speculation. I don't think we'll ever know. I don't think Hamas will ever acknowledge the magnitude of the crimes it was itself responsible for, how much of it was individual initiatives by Hamas militants, and how much of it was caused by riffraff and ruffians. We just don't know.